Hello guys, my name is Alex and welcome back for AOR, this time for my home Grand Prix in Hockenheim. After a decent round in Silverstone, we are now in P6 in the driver's table, or still in P6, and we're looking to improve on that in this round. And I was confident with the track. I was not completely confident with my setup. I think, as you will see, it was not aggressive enough, but in general the pace was there. And here you can see actually a lap I did 3 days after the Grand Prix with a more aggressive setup, but I think still with 8 ballast, so not too aggressive as well. So it basically was a race setup, not a qualifying one, but the time at the end was quite decent. And unfortunately, my game didn't record the actual lap I did in qualifying, so I'm showing you this one, it's actually more fun to watch this one than to watch my qualifying lap because it was not quite perfect. I think I made a slight mistake in the first run, because basically you only have one run on this track, because the strategy around here is a one-stop, starting on the softs and finish the race on mediums. And yeah, the ultra softs are not really tires you want to use in the actual race because they overheat quite quickly, and that's the reason we are driving on the softs. We only have one set of those, so we have one chance to get in a lap, and I think most of the people did 2 runs on the softs, so they used a bit more fuel, and I did basically the same. In the first run I got my lap invalidated, unfortunately, and the second one was not ideal as well, as you will see, but this lap felt quite good. I think I could find probably 2/10 to the maximum with this setup, with 9 ballast, maybe even more, so the pace was definitely there. And here you can see the timings after the qualifying. Unfortunately, we were a bit slower. We did a 11.4, which was not ideal, and we are starting in P10, which is probably in my opinion, the worst spot you can start. But we have 5 red lights. It's lights out and away we go. We have to be really careful because it's easy to get damage here, especially in turn 1. It's very tight there with all the cars, so we brake early in order to avoid any kind of contact. And we are now looking for the left. Maybe we can find a position there as someone dives up on our inside. I think it was Flores, but despite the bit of contact, nothing really happened there. So we are now close to the cars ahead, and again I think we are looking for the left because most of the time it's a safer spot. And you can see there's a contact between, I think, Alex and Ollie, which is unfortunate for them but great for us, because we are now gaining 2 positions up into P8, which is crucial because in P10 the race is really tough, because people outside the top 10 will definitely start on harder compound of tires, and they will have a huge advantage compared to us. And you can see we had quite a bit of understeer in the first few laps, and that was part of my setup. At the end I was not really happy with it, although it was a decent race setup, but the others ran much more aggressive setup, as I think Dominic went into the pits, and now we are weaving to Flores behind to say him that it's better for him and our race that he's not attacking us, because at the moment we are a bit quicker, but as the stint progresses he will be much quicker. And you can see, I think Thornet he's struggling with the tires already in on the ultras in lap 4, so we have to make sure we can get past as soon as possible. And we are now braking really late, and we are going around the outside. Hopefully we'll have enough grip, and this seems to be the case. And we're now going up into overtake in order to make the position stick. We have now the inside brake really late in order to make the position stick. He goes for the cutback, but at the end we are able to go up into P6. And the plan in this race was actually not to push flat out the whole time. and the reason for that is because you can get warnings and penalties quite easily here, and that was the reason I backed off. And especially in turn 1 it's quite easy, as Flores dives up on our inside on his better tires now, because ours will get slower and slower compared to his, and I think a lap later Tim goes up on our inside and we don't make his life that much more difficult than necessary, because at the moment the plan is to stay with those guys. They will be quicker compared to the leaders, and if we can avoid any kind of penalty we might be able to fight the leaders due to having no penalties at all. At least that's the plan, as the eagle goes up on our inside. Now I got it. And there was a bit of contact, but yeah, it was not too much, and we lose another position, but at the moment everything is fine, and we actually were able to follow those guys because the setup, especially at the end, worked quite well. And at the end of the lap 13 we decided to go into the pits and change to the medium tires, which should last until the end quite comfortably. And we are now right behind Big C, so we didn't lose too much time. Or now we are behind Dominic, but he's, I think, on a 2-stop, so essentially we are still in the points. And yeah, unfortunately I had another slight problem, but this time it was basically my fault, and that was my pedals. They got loose over the race, and that basically meant that I had to switch them around with my feet during the race because they locked themselves between the wall or the walls, and yeah, that was basically not ideal, and something I fixed after this race because it cost me really a lot of time, as you will see later. But now back to the action. One of the Red Bulls came out of the pits, and he's now going till the end on his softs, and he should be really quick. And I think the other Red Bull of Tim, he should rejoin right behind of us, as you can see. So he will have quite a massive advantage in terms of speed and tires. But I think he had a 6-second penalty, so my plan actually was not to make his life too easy, and my plan was as well to fight Big C in order to, maybe if I can overtake him, then Tim might overtake him and I can create a gap. But as you can see, that didn't really work out. Tim dived up on the inside of Big C, and we broke really early in order to get a cutback and secure both positions, but Tim had a massive grip advantage, which allowed him through up into P7 for him, P8 for us. But at the moment we don't have a penalty. I think a lot of the other cars have penalties, so at the end it might be very interesting to see where we end up. And we actually were able to keep up with Tim, although we had to push quite a lot in order to stay with him. And currently you can see my fastest lap of the race, and yeah, I will talk to you after the lap, and I hope you enjoy. So here we are at the end of the lap. I think it was quite a decent one, although we had slipstream and DRS from Tim ahead, and yeah, it will be interesting to see how the gap develops, because at a certain point we will have the advantage over him, because his tires won't last forever or won't have a advantage the whole race. And unfortunately, here you can see the problem I mentioned earlier. I had oversteer because the gas pedal basically locked itself, and yeah, this was not really ideal. You will see the lap I did was over a second slower. Earlier I was able to create a gap between myself and Big C, but unfortunately this lap or this gap was ruined by this problem, and I was quite unhappy with myself because it was an avoidable mistake. And here you could see I lifted up. I lifted because I had to change or move my pedals, which allowed Big C to get past. And yeah, it's quite unfortunate that those mistakes happen, and it's quite interesting that it happens. It all happens basically in this season, which is quite strange. So many things that don't actually have to do with racing that go wrong. And here you can see after we fixed our problem, we were able to get past, and the reason for this was because we had a few cars behind us on the alternate strategy who caught up to us. I think one of them was Aresi, was really quick, and so my plan was again to get past to have clean air and maybe create a gap of over a second and then drive away. And I think a few laps later, Aresi was right behind us, and we don't really fight him too much because I know he had a penalty as well. So at the moment, we try to make our race as fast as possible, because we still have a slight chance to catch the cars ahead due to their penalties. And that was also what we did. And we backed off after the straight as Flores dives up on our inside, but you can see this time we are fighting, and the reason for that is I really don't want to lose too many positions, and if I drop further back there's a slight chance I might end up in P8 or 9 at the end. And I try to stay right behind Aresi and use his speed to my advantage. And here we are at the last lap, and the plan is now to really get a good exit out of here and use the slipstream and the DRS in order to stay ahead. I know it's difficult for Flores to get past when the cars ahead or the car ahead does have slipstream, and we brake really late. We nearly tapped the back there, but we managed to stop the car, and Flores fortunately was not able to get past, which is really good. And I think the gap to Tim was not that big either. I think we caught him in the last few laps because I think his tires should be a bit worn, at least in this part of the race. So here we are at the last few corners. Finn was able to win the race, but I think due to his penalties Michael got the race win, so congratulations to him. And for us it's P6 at the end, which I'll definitely take considering the problems we had, and the setup was not ideal and the training was not that much either. So P6 is a great result. Again, points in my home Grand Prix is always nice to have. And in terms of the championship, you can see we are still in P6, but I think we closed in a bit on Ollie and Dominic. They had unlucky races, I think. So I think if we continue like that, we might have a chance to fight them. If we are able to attack the leaders, it might be a stretch, but I'll definitely try it. And yeah, that was the race. I hope you guys enjoyed it, and I hope to see you in the next one as well. Goodbye.